Hey everyone, Anthony here at Pro Dealer Secrets, and today I have a very unique video. Something that nobody else is going to teach you and no other car flip gurus, whatever, are ever going to tell you, and that is how to lose money the right way. And this is just as important as making money because there are going to be situations to where you can either cut your losses or you can get your ass handed to you. And I've had that happen multiple times, and I've learned a lot of lessons from, losing $5,000 plus on 3 or 4 separate cars. And let me tell you, those hurt, and I learned a lot from them, and hopefully you never have to go through that. You need to cut losses fast. It's like ripping off a band-aid. You just get it over with. If you agonize over it and let it torture you, it's going to be worse than it would have been if you just deal with it and move on. Be decisive, and that's going to be one of the key factors is decisiveness and moving forward. And your biggest losses are going to come from trying to avoid losing money, because a lot of people I notice are hardwired to not lose money, and they think that if they can fix every little thing and get it perfect, and they'll make a little bit or make as much as they want it to, and that's just not the case. And I'll give you 3 examples. No, I got 4 examples here of vehicles that I got my ass handed to me. First was my first year as an 04 F-150 FX4 crew cab. I think I bought it for $4,500 or 45 or 55, and it wound up having a cam phaser issue that I had no experience with, but I had engine misfire issue, running really rough, shaking. So without consulting a professional mechanic, I replaced the spark plugs, the coil packs, all of those, and then we did tune-ups. We started replacing cam sensors, crank sensor, and other sensors. And before you know it, we had spent like $1,000 to $1,500 just right there. And then, finally I consult a shade tree mechanic, I think it was, or somebody like a mobile mechanic, and he came out and that was a diagnosis, and he fixed it. Wasn't quite right because he didn't do it right. Had to redo the job, and next thing you know, I've got $10,000 in this fucking truck, and it's eating my lunch. It's taking all my cash. I've got $10,000 sunk in a truck that's worth 6 to 7. And next thing you know, I had to dump this truck for $5,000 after I'd spent 10 on it. And that was a hell of a headache, because let's just, for numbers' sake, let's say it was 45 or 5,500 that I bought it for, but I ended up with 10,000 in it. So let's just say I have $5,000 in it. And I could have easily dumped it for $4,000, if not 45 to 5 to begin with. And the only reason I had to take such a loss after I fixed it and it ran pretty decently is because I had no cash. Like, I had spent all my cash that I had on this stupid truck, and I had to get rid of it. So I could have just dumped it in the first week or two, took my $500 to $1,000 loss and moved on and made money with that cash, but I didn't. And my second scenario is a 2010 Town & Country. Bought at the auction. It was one of those deals where I never bought a newer body style of these Town & Countries, because I had sold a lot of the older ones, like the round body ones from early 2000s to 06. And I forced this because I wanted to buy one and I wanted to sell one. So I went and bought it. I didn't check it. I paid like $4,200 for it. And I get it back. Turns out it's smoking pretty heavily, misfiring. It's got coolant in the oil, and it's a blown head gasket. On top of that, it's a pretty rough vehicle. So what do? I hire a cheap mobile mechanic, hire him to go get a engine from the salvage yard, and they tow it out to their house to work on it. 2 months later, I haven't heard anything. And then they keep saying, oh, we're working on it, having problems. And, turns out, they had gotten a shitty engine from the salvage, and in in the process of installing and uninstalling the engine, they broke in a bunch of parts. And then, of course, I want to pay them for it. And after all is said and done, they finally get they finally get an engine installed, and it still runs like shit. And they bring it back, and they're like, "Oh, we don't really know what's going on with it." And this is after about $2,500 in expenses from buying a couple engines, paying their labor, which was like $600, and the transport, because they charged me a couple $100 to take it out to their house and back. And ultimately, it was a nightmare. And then not only that, I had put brand new tires on it because they were all bald. I had paid to have it detailed. I had fixed a few little parts here and there. And, before I know it, I had like 89 to like $9,000 in this car. And that was another one that I wound up selling for, no, I had like 69 or 7,200 in it. But I sold it for like $2,000 because it still ran like shit, and I just had to sell it to someone who was going to fix it up as a project. And let me tell you, that one hurt because I had that car for over a year fucking with it. And, the mechanics alone had it for like 4 months, and then I, spent months trying to sell it and nobody would buy it. And ultimately, I could have just dumped it. So then we had a blue 05 Nissan 350Z, and I thought I had a good deal on it because I paid like $4,200 for it, and it was a great deal, but it was a red light at the auction. And turns out it wouldn't shift. It drove, but it wouldn't shift past like third, if at all sometimes. And so what we did, of course, is we went and put a new transmission in it, didn't fix it, put another transmission in it, didn't fix it, started checking fuses and this and that, and, paid Nissan to program the transmission to the VIN number. And after all said and done, I sold it like $2,500 because it wouldn't shift, and I couldn't get anything at the auction for it. Turns out the guy had texted me like a month later or so, and he told me that the only problem with it was the battery cable was loose. The negative connection wasn't all the way tight, and that was causing computer issues and not shifting properly. And that was a $5,500 loss there. And the last one was a 05 Nissan Pathfinder, and bought at the auction, didn't check it, had transmission fluid in the radiator, because on the Nissans they have a common issue to where the radiator intermixes the coolant and the transmission fluid because they both flow through the radiator. And there's a barrier that breaks down, and it's common on all of them. And so, it wouldn't shift into overdrive. And here I am spending, once again, trying to replace transmission, radiator. I used a local Mexican mechanic, and, turns out that he had never really done this kind of job, even though he assured me that he knew how to do it. And we went through a few transmissions. He didn't know what he was doing. Had to be programmed. Bunch of other headaches we ran into. Like a whole just mess of a nightmare. And sure enough, lost my ass on that one. And that's like a triple lesson. Don't use cheap mechanics. And our rule is we never do engine or transmission swaps ever again. Haven't done one in years, and I won't do them again. And I will tell you, I haven't done one or had the losses like these because of us having that rule of not ever doing an engine or transmission swap. And here's why: because there's always something that's going to pop up, a bigger issue. So the more you spend, the more you lose, obviously. Big jobs have big surprises. The bigger the job is, the more stuff is going to break and need to be fixed and replaced. And you just can't make a car perfect because it's expensive, very expensive. So what that leads into is have rules, know when to dump it, know what you won't do, and you got to minimize your risk versus your loss. My rule is no engine swaps, no transmission swaps, and I'd rather take $1,000 loss than to try to replace an engine or transmission and break even or even make $1,000, because it wastes so much time, so much energy, and so much headache. Because sure enough, that mechanic's gonna be calling you every day like, oh, this and that and this and that, and broke this and this needs that part. Oh, I found this. Be like, fuck off, man. I'm sick of this car. That's my rule. So you got to be stoic. When you have $1,000 loss, it can't be any different than $1,000 profit, because it's the same number. There's just a negative sign in front of the other. Negative 1,000 plus 1,000. It's the same either way. As long as you have more 1,000s than you do negative 1,000s, you'll be okay. And my rule is 80-20. We make money on 80% of our cars, and we break even or lose money on 20%. And we get rid of the 20% as fast as possible, and we maximize the 80%. Because so many people get caught up in making money on every single car that you don't grow from there. There are more deals than you can buy. And I've learned that. And we sell 50 to 60 cars a month. And I'm passing up deals at the auction all the time, because I know we're full, we're backed up on work. And if we can just get rid of all these shitty 20% cars, I can go buy more 80% profits. So learn from your losses. When you lose money, it's a tuition. Look at it as a fee to learn the game. And you'll learn what to look for, what to avoid, common issues. And not only that, you'll learn how to maybe even fix what seems like a major issue the first time. You'll learn that it might not be a major issue next time. But, always research, learn about cars, learn about the common things going on with them, and stuff you can look for. But if you're so obsessed with trying to avoid a loss and needing to make money on every car, I hear people brag about, I've never lost money on a car, and they're flipping like 3 to 5 a year. Whereas a guy that doesn't mind taking a hit, taking a risk, he'll lose $500 on a car, but he'll get up and try again and learn and learn and learn. And next thing you know, he's doing 15, 20, 30, 50 a month, or a year. Well, shit, I'm selling 50 a month, and we lose money on 10 cars a month. We either break even or lose money, and that's expected. But that's built into the numbers, because at the end of the day, all of our deals average out to making $1,000 per car every month. And if I was obsessed with making money on every single car, then we would not sell as many as we do. And lastly, you need to have a list of don't buy cars. And some of these are obvious, like exotic cars. For beginners, I would put like any luxury brand on there, unless you get it inspected and it's good. But especially Mercedes, Audi, a lot of the disposable junk cars can go on that list too, which is like Chevy Cobalt, Cavalier, Dodge Journey. I don't buy Durangos. I don't buy Envoys and Trailblazers. A lot of cars with common transmission issues. There's just, the list is endless. There's so many major issues. You're just gonna have to research every car that you look into, and after about 6 months to a year, you're really gonna start getting a good picture of what the common things are. So that's today's preview video. Something that nobody's gonna teach you. You're not gonna learn anywhere. And I go deep in depth in my course into this topic and many more like it. So today's been a preview. This is Anthony with Pro Dealer Secrets, and I'll see you on the next one.